Hello and welcome to Top Story. Today, is there at last a glimmer of hope that the political power vacuum in Lebanon could be filled? Army Chief General Michel Suleiman has emerged as the front-runner for the vacant presidency, following the decision of the largest bloc in the Lebanese parliament to drop its opposition to his candidacy. Suleiman's reputation as a relatively neutral figure in the turbulent world of Lebanese politics appears to have convinced initial doubters that he's the man for the job. The anti-Syrian majority, led by Saad Hariri, said it had reversed its previous opposition to changing the constitution to make it possible to elect a serving army commander. General Suleiman is also well respected by the Syrian-backed Hezbollah. Critically too, the prominent opposition leader Michel Aoun, who himself had ambitions on the presidency, declared on Thursday that he would back Suleiman. Lebanon has been without a president since last Friday, when Emil Lahoud's term of office expired and Parliament failed to agree on a successor. Well, to discuss developments in Lebanon, I'm joined now by Elias Masbounji, Paris correspondent of the French-language Lebanese daily L'Orient Le Jour. Thanks very much for being on Top Story. Does this mean now that the immediate crisis has been resolved in Lebanon, or do we have some way to go yet?
I wouldn't say that. I think the key is Syria. It's sad to say, but the key is Syria, and it's not a secret. General Suleiman is obviously the best candidate for the time being, and normally the situation is evolving towards his election, hopefully next Friday, in a week's time. Why didn't they elect him yesterday? There are two reasons. One apparent reason is the procedure of amending the constitution. In the absence of a president...
So the constitution has to be changed first before General Suleiman can be elected?
Because if the candidate is a public servant of the first category, he has to resign 6 months before the election, which is not the case with General Suleiman and other candidates. So there's no way that the parliament needs to elect General Suleiman if they don't, in a special session, amend the constitution.
So before they have the vote on General Suleiman, they have to have a vote on changing the constitution?
Yes. There are two meetings. The first one is for the amendment of the constitution, and then another meeting immediately consequent in the same day, and 5 minutes difference, the election will occur, because the parliament has to be in one session to amend the constitution, and another session immediately after to elect the president. This is the first reason. The second reason is that unfortunately it's not within the borders of Lebanon that everything is decided. It's tied to Annapolis, and Annapolis is now the opportunity for Syria.
Well, Syria attended Annapolis. There was some doubt about whether it would, and was a suspicion that there was a deal struck between the United States and Syria.
Yes, there is definitely an intention to strike that deal, but I don't think the deal is yet ready. Otherwise, they would have met yesterday and elected President
And what do you think its component elements might be?
I think Syria wants more guarantees that the Golan hate problem will be on the schedule. They had only a promise, apparently, but they want to make sure that the file is put on the table. And this didn't happen, of course, in Annapolis. It will probably occur in the next session of the talks in January in Moscow. Does this mean that the election of a Lebanese president will wait until January? It is possible, because Lebanese people have the talent to adapt to every situation, even being there without a president.
6 times already, so you're suggesting it could yet be postponed a 7th time?
It could be postponed, but it is still a very dangerous situation, because anything can occur in the street, like what happened in Tripoli. It was a armed fight between two groups, and there are several groups in all major cities, especially Tripoli and Saida, where a lot of Islamic small groups live next to each other, but in a very tense situation.
Can I just ask you about General Suleiman himself? I mean, is he the neutral figure that people are saying he is now?
He is definitely not only a new figure, but he is trustful, he is honest, he is certainly the person who can deal, if he is elected, with the three major parties, to my opinion. Immediately after his election, he will have to negotiate with the Palestinians about the situation in the camps. Obviously, after Nahar al-Barid, something is going wrong in the camps, and the official or the legal authority in the camps is not able to maintain order. This is the least we can say about al-Barid, and it applies to other camps also. So he is the person who will negotiate with Palestinians and then negotiate with Syrians about borders, about diplomatic representation between Lebanon and Syria, and of course the most difficult, to my opinion, is the negotiation about the future of Hezbollah and his arms. And definitely General Suleiman has the profile and has the power to do that, unlike other civilian candidates who have the profile, of course, capacity, but they could not do the same job with the same authority.
Initially, the governing coalition was opposed to his candidacy, but they changed their mind.
Yes,
why?
This is one of the contradictions. The majority camp, the majority clan, if we can call them so, were harassing President Lahoud under the argument that he is the last representative of the Syrian authority. And here we are today, they are backing Mr. President Suleiman, who, like President Lahoud, was appointed when the Syrians were in town, in power in Lebanon. So you cannot argue on a logic with but apparently a deal is a deal. It has been on, and apparently the last thing we can say that Syria has still the means to block or unblock the election in Lebanon.
And there, I'm afraid, I'm going to have to end it. That's all we have time for today. Thanks to Elias Masbounji, Paris correspondent of the French language Lebanese daily L'Orient Le Jour. Join us again next week for another edition of Top Story. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.